Adams. I'm an independent demonstrator with Stampin' Up! I'd like to show you this card. It uses falling flowers and the coordinating Mayflowers framelits, and also I'm using the Swirly Scribbles thinlits. And I'm using the Stampin' Blends. I'm using the Old Olive, the Rich Razzleberry, the Dark Daffodil Delight, and I may need the color lifter. My card base is Smoky Slate, 4 1/4 by 11, scored at 5 1/2. It's still half a sheet of paper. I have a 1/4 sheet of shimmery white paper, and I don't think that the shimmer shows up. It's pretty subtle, but it really adds a little sparkle. I have 2 pieces of Whisper White that are 5 1/4 by 4, and a piece of Rich Razzleberry that's a 1/2 inch smaller than that, so it's 5 by 3 3/4. And I need a piece of Old Olive that's about 3 by 3. My sample, I only use this outside, but I think I'm going to add the inside just because. I have about 8 inches of this 1/4 inch Whisper White ribbon. It's got some organza in the middle of it. Love it. And when you cut the Whisper White, you will end up with 1/2 inch strips of Whisper White. Save those. I'm going to stamp my Rich Razzleberry in Old Olive with this kind of swirly piece. I forgot I needed a greeting. I'm using All Things Thanks and just this little small thank you. So I'm going to stamp that thank you in Old Olive on the Whisper White. And I'm going to punch that out with the classic label punch. Just kind of set it in there. I want to show off how wonderful these blends are by kind of showing you several ways of using it. I'm going to be coloring on my cardstock, but I also want to color my ribbon, and it just soaks into this ribbon very nicely. The back is not quite colored in, so I'll go ahead and color it. And of course, as an alcohol base marker, it's going to dry really quickly. And you can color non-porous things too, it's like these white perfect accents. And it comes in 3 sizes. I think either of the smaller 2 sizes will work. And I think I want it a little darker, so I'm going to switch to the darker of the blends. Yes. I'm going to be using 1/4 of a sheet of shimmery white cardstock, and I want to stamp on this. I don't have a stamp for this one, but I want to have these close enough so that they fit on a block, so I can stamp them all at the same time. So I'm going to just set these here. Notice that this one has a little pokey thing sticking out. I want to remember which direction that is going. And so I'm going to point that away from the center, and I'm going to line up my flower on top of that. And then I'm going to just press these on. So now I know that those will be arranged the way I want them. I'm using these Stampin' Blends, so I want to use Memento ink. And stamp this on here. I want to be sure and get good impression on there. I will be cutting that out. I probably shouldn't have rocked it, but I'm going to set that aside to dry a little bit. So I really want to show off the blends with this. So I'm going to show you how I like to color in. I like to start with the darker first, and I'm going to color this flower, and I want to start out by coloring with the small tip. These have a bullet tip and a brush tip. I want to use the bullet tip around any part that will be behind or down a little bit. So I'm going to go around the inside of the flower, around the outside here. You do not need to be careful with this. And then I want to highlight some of these lines out here. This petal looks like it's behind this one, so I'm going to color that side. This one looks like it's going to be a little lower. Color these sections. And a couple of these lines. Again, you do not need to be careful with this. And then I'm going to use the lighter blend, and I'm going to kind of color this in. I don't want to press hard because I don't want to mess up my brush tip. But if I see an edge of the darker color, I want to kind of squiggle that around a little bit and blend that in. You shouldn't see any hard lines in the middle of an image. It's okay to see the hard line on between one part and the other. So I'm just kind of scribbling it where that hard edge is and blending it. You can do little circles. You can get these blends, the whole pack together, which I did. You can get a light and dark set, a combo, or you can get them individually, which I think is going to be nice. I haven't had any trouble with them drying out yet. They do seem to snap tight, so that these are alcohol. If they're left open, the alcohol dries fast. That's one of the nice things about it. Then I'm going to use the bullet tip for the center, and I'm not really blending, I'm just coloring this here. Then for the leaves, they're not really detailed, so I'm just going to draw around in a circle. I want to emphasize the roundness of that, maybe the veins of these leaves. And then I like to do my blending with the lighter color. So I'm using the bullet tip on this because it's a smaller area. I am cutting these out, but that might show, so I'm going to use the color lifter. I've also heard it called a color pusher, because you want to actually like push the color. I don't think it is bleach, but it kind of works like bleach so that it kind of fades as it goes. And if you want to use it to highlight a little bit, you can do that too. It doesn't show up right away. And then for this piece, I really want to just color in a large area here. So I'm going to color in a circle that's probably a little bit larger than a quarter. And then I'm going to use the lighter one, and I'm going to kind of go around in a circle. You can see the hard edge right now. I'm going to keep going around. I'm going to go around 2 times basically, and the second time around I really start seeing the difference. And I want to kind of fill most of this area here. Now I will bring in my Big Shot. Let me move this out of the way. Trying to cut on my Big Shot on paper does not work very well. I'm switching out my Big Shot platform for the magnetic platform. And I want a cut-up plate. Now remember, I put the pointer to the outside, so I'm going to do that again. It matches up easily. And I'm kind of cutting off that little lip on my stem a little bit. Cover it up with a clear plate. Run it through. And these pop off really quick and easy. This one's going to take a little more work, but not much. You can use the Big Shot die brush if you want. Let me pull this out of the way. And I like to keep mine in stamping cases. And these will pop off really easy. And I think that that just looks really lovely. I'm putting both of these swirly pieces, one inside the other. Cover those up, run them through. A couple of times just to be sure. And just one more bit of stamping on the inside on the Whisper White. 5 1/4 by 4. You are amazing. And I might as well tie a little bow while I'm waiting for that to dry. I'm just doing a really quick kind of fake bow because I'm not tying anything to anything, just a bow by itself. I'll give that a little trim. And I think I'm ready to assemble. So just put the inside on the inside. Put the Whisper White, just a blank Whisper White. Try and get that centered. And my rich razzleberry. Pull in my silicone mat so I can adhere these swirls. You don't have to be super careful with this, but you want to go, you don't want to blob this on. It's really a pretty strong adhesive. And I always like to keep mine tip side down. And I want to be sure and show off that little extra part here. And this swirl, I will need to make sure and get adhesive on this part here and around the outside. Any ends that might stick up. Then I want to put my flower on. And I don't want to obscure this part, so I'm kind of putting that in the center. I've got extra adhesive here I didn't want. Put my little banner on. And I'm going to put this a little lower than I did on my sample. I want to cover up some of that adhesive. And I'll glue it up from my bow. Put that right there. No problem. Using my piercing tool, put my white, my no longer white, perfect accent right on that dot. And then I'll go ahead and use my liquid adhesive for the leaves and a couple of dimensionals. I want to point out the stamping blends will bleed through your cardstock. So just know that's going to happen. So I want to put my leaves down here, over to the side, and this little piece right here, and my flower on top. And I think that's a pretty card. So the stamping blends can color ribbon and non-porous things, cardstock, and blend those colors. And I think maybe you can see where the white color lifter really highlighted those flowers. If you would like the directions for this card, come on over to my website, bevadams.com. I'll have full directions and a link to all the products. Talk to you soon. Bye.